If you want to use LinkedIn for your business to be able to get more clients, this video is going to break it down exactly how to do it step by step, and it really couldn't be any easier. So you're going to be able to master it and then get to the client generation phase really quickly. And then a little later on, I also want to share with you the huge mistake that so many businesses make on LinkedIn that actually costs them clients, so that you don't accidentally fall into that same trap. So the thing is, LinkedIn is a natural fit for most businesses, especially if you're business to business or B2B. But even if what you provide isn't for businesses, you can still make this work for you. So first things first, when we're talking about using LinkedIn as a business to get clients, rather than as an employee working for a company or a job seeker using LinkedIn, should you still be using your personal profile or a business page? Here's the thing. I do recommend creating at least a basic page for your business. It does add to your credibility as a business, and it can be another ranking signal for Google to rank you higher in search. But today's strategy is really going to be focused on your personal page. Because remember, when you're building relationships, think about it. Are you more likely to feel a personal connection to a company or to a person who you know and trust inside of that company? So step one of my LinkedIn client gen strategy is just laying down the groundwork. More specifically, getting your profile in top shape so that it's ready for all the eyeballs that are coming its way in the next step. So let's just jump into the computer so you can see what a perfectly set up LinkedIn profile should look like. Okay, so here we are on my profile. This is the editing version. This is not the forward-facing one that you would see if you went to my profile. But basically, there are a few things that you'd want to dial in just right here. So I'm going to go through them one by one. First of all, being your profile photo. So what you want here is something pretty close up where you're looking directly into the camera. It's just better for connecting. Then the cover image up here, that can be another photo of you. It can be something of you helping a client. What I generally don't recommend is something like, basically an exterior shot of your business or anything like that. Because again, we're trying to really hit home that personal connection. This is your personal profile after all. So the next thing I want to talk about is your headline. So what most people do, which I think is kind of a missed opportunity, is they just say their job title, which is only getting you halfway there, because you do want a job title in general, a keyword that people are going to be searching for, in my case, web consultant. But then you want to go a step further and you want to tell people what who you help and how you do it. So it's essentially a really distilled down little elevator pitch. So I show service business owners and entrepreneurs how to turn their website into their number one salesperson. So it's less about a job title and explaining to people in a really human way what exactly it is you do and how you help people. And then for me, since I'm on YouTube and have a podcast, I threw it in here because it adds to that expert status, right? It shows that I actually talk about these things. Doesn't mean you need to have them if you're not on YouTube, that's fine. All of this stuff will work very well without it. Okay, so now let's move on to the About section. So this is really important, and a lot of people do this a little bit wrong. They use it as kind of either a brag board about all their accomplishments, or they get into just, their entire backstory. But I want you to keep in mind, and I talk about this whenever I talk about your About Us page on your website as well, your About Us page and your About section here is not actually about you. It's about how you help your clients. So always bring it back to them. I do mention briefly what I do. I'm a web consultant and strategist with a deep understanding of digital marketing. So this basically speaks to my authority, right? But then I really quickly turn it around and I say I focus on coaching service business owners and entrepreneurs about what they can do to bring more traffic to their websites and how to get those visitors to take action. So lead with some authority of my expertise, and then I turn it around to how I help my clients. In addition to that, what I always like to do in my About section here is show 3 benefits to working with me, complete with little emojis as bullets for a little extra attention, and then followed by 3 easy steps to actually working with me, because a lot of times people have never engaged with a business like yours. You have a service that maybe needs a little bit of explanation, but you don't want to over explain it. You want to make it feel easy. You want to make them realize that you're driving the ship here. You will take control of everything, and it's going to be extremely easy on them. So I just say basically, you go to this web address, you choose a day and time, you show up, and then once you're there, I answer all your questions and tell you exactly what you need. I give you the action plan that's customized for you, and you get the recording so you don't have to take any notes. I've made it sound very easy because truthfully, it is easy, at least on them. And I do want you to notice how this is all laid out. Notice how much white space there is. It's really short paragraphs. It's little subheadings. It's bullet lists, that kind of thing. That's what's going to make people actually want to read your content versus that wall of text that nobody wants to see. It just scares people off and they're never going to read it because you don't get the option here of, bolding text. You don't get the option of subheadlines or of bulleted lists. You kind of have to do it yourself. But as you can see here, it works out pretty well as long as you've got all the white space in there. Okay, next, let's talk about the featured section. So this is actually really powerful. It lets you feature any of your content you want to. So for me, I have my free masterclass right here. It's my main lead magnet for my website. It's what I want to direct people to the most. So if you have a lead magnet, and I definitely think you should, if you're trying to get clients, then you would want to link to that right there, front and center. And then from there, it's up to you. What else do you want to direct people's attention to? For me, I've got my YouTube channel. So I could have just linked people to my channel as a whole here, but I thought it was more valuable to get them into this one particular video, which is kind of like, if this video is interesting to you, then you're a perfect fit for me and in my business. So if you've got a blog or a specific blog post, or you have a podcast or a specific podcast episode, you can link to any of that stuff right here. You can do more than 2 as well. I mean, I might recommend 3. I don't know that I'd recommend more than that. Let's keep it to a manageable number. And that's going to result in more people taking action. Okay, so moving along, we've got experience. So this is really important. You want to keep everything very on point. What you don't want to do is use this as your resume as if you're on the job search. You're not. You're trying to appeal to clients who really just want to see that you're a specialist. So if you've got, your job at Blockbuster Video in college, which I actually had, by the way, but you're not going to see it on here because it's not relevant. In fact, I would probably get rid of these last 2 entries of graphic designer just because it's not super relevant to what I do now. And always keep in mind, people do pigeonhole experts a little bit. So if you're trying to tell people I'm an expert in this particular service area, but 5 years ago I was doing something very different, that's going to confuse people. And it's much better to get rid of that and even just have a gap in your history than to confuse them with something different. So I'm probably going to go ahead and delete these as soon as we're done here, actually. From there, skills and endorsements. So you can ask people to endorse you for specific skills. And I would definitely make sure those are skills that you ask to be endorsed for. Again, I've got some here like logo design and art direction that are probably not serving me very well for my web consulting business. Web design is probably fine, but the other 2 I would probably want to get rid of. And then from there, we have recommendations. So really important. These are testimonials, right? These are people saying they've worked with you and you knocked it out of the park for them. So contact any of your former clients, anyone who can speak to your ability. And what I like to do personally is give them a nice little recommendation first, rather than just asking them for one when, it's always best to lead with value and then ask for it in return rather than just out of the blue. Okay, so now that your profile's looking good, showing you as the helpful expert you are, we're going to go over the exact strategy that I use to build my business. But first, let's talk about the single worst thing you can do. So, rant time here. I seriously can't stand this tactic, and I remove connections on a daily basis because of it. It's the thing, you may have experienced this yourself, hopefully you're not doing this. It's a thing where, you find a great potential client, request to connect, they accept it, and then you immediately pitch them with your service.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
That's not only a major misuse of LinkedIn, but it's pretty damn ineffective too, right? It's never a good idea to ask for the sale before you've given anything to them first. Sure, you may close a tiny fraction of your connections that way, but you're going to lose way more before you've ever had the chance to win them over. So let's talk about what you should be doing instead. Rather than the two-step of add and pitch, we're going to flip the script here and go with another 2 steps, add and add. More specifically, add content and then add connections in that order. So let's talk content first then, right? You want to be adding engaging, shareable, helpful, inspirational, or actionable content consistently to draw your connections to you rather than pitching them to death. And don't worry, this does not need to become a full-time job. Sharing content on LinkedIn can be incredibly easy. You just want to come up with a schedule that you can stick with, preferably one that works with any content you're already making. Because here's a secret. I don't actually create any content specifically just for LinkedIn, but it is an excellent place to repurpose content that I create for other places, other platforms. Now, I do recommend posting 3 to 5 times per week on LinkedIn for maximum reach and impact, but just do what you can. And if you're worried about what I would even post about 3 to 5 times every week, the first type of content I want you to focus on is actually really short form. Think like the length of somewhere between a tweet and a paragraph. And here are some really good, easy ideas for that short form content to get you started. So you could post a single quick tip, a piece of advice, an opinion, ask a question, or share an intriguing statistic. And don't be afraid to be more personal sometimes. Everyone always thinks LinkedIn is meant to be super buttoned up and professional at all times, but the truth is, people respond even better sometimes to relatable stories or, talking about the hard lessons you learned. And with all of these, you definitely want to use an image with your post to grab more attention in the feed. So in addition to posting regular short posts, you ideally want to post one longer form article every week as well. So basically, LinkedIn has a built-in blogging feature where you can write and post full-length articles right inside of LinkedIn. But here's the thing, you don't need to write something new to put in here, right? If you already have a blog on your site, take a look at your analytics and see which of your posts are performing the best, and then just copy paste it into the LinkedIn article editor. There's actually no SEO penalty for doing that. Google just won't show the LinkedIn version of your article in Google searches. They're gonna show yours on your site first because it's the first time Google saw it, if that makes sense. But you don't need your LinkedIn article to be found in Google searches anyway. That's not the point. You just want your connections on LinkedIn to see your post, your article, scroll past them in the feed. And if you have any other content you can repurpose on LinkedIn, like video, I think that's a great idea, right? Video is the king of content marketing, and it's only growing more every day. But let's say that you have a YouTube channel and you wanted to use LinkedIn just to get some extra mileage out of those videos. The wrong move here would be to just post a link to your YouTube video on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, like every other social platform, has one single goal, which is to keep people on it, not send them off. So if you post a link to that video somewhere else, they're just gonna show that post to way fewer people. So rather than doing that, just re-upload the same video to LinkedIn in a post. And if you're on board with the short video trend, which by the way, I don't actually think is a trend at all, I think it's gonna be around for a while. I'm talking TikTok and Reels. You can repurpose those on LinkedIn too, as long as they're on point and provide real value, that is. So I don't recommend just posting you dancing on TikTok, but if your TikToks or your Instagram Reels or even your YouTube Shorts are more business focused, offering tips and stuff like that, feel free to post them on LinkedIn too. When you think about it, those short videos are just like those short form posts that we talked about earlier, just in video form. And I know live video isn't for everyone. It might make you nervous just thinking about doing it. But if video is king, then live video is really Godzilla, king of the monsters. And you can really supercharge your client generating abilities if you do it. So just something to consider. And here are a few general tips to help you with every content piece you share. So first of all, use the right hashtags. So in LinkedIn, I recommend always using 3 at the very end of your post. So go pretty broad with your first 2 of them, then niche down into something more specific for your third hashtag. So if I were posting something about creating the perfect homepage for business, I might use the hashtags small business, digital marketing, and homepage tips. Broad, specific. Next, if you do share any links, don't post them in the post itself. Again, that's going to limit how many people see it. Instead, just post the link in the first comment, right? They don't really penalize for that, and it'll actually be a little bit more visible there and stand out more. Okay, so that's the content side. Now let's talk about the other part to this equation, which is all about the eyeballs that are going to see it. In other words, you need to be adding relevant connections. And I do recommend starting with some content before you start adding people, but really these 2 parts can be happening at the same time. So you want to start searching out your ideal clients by job title or company name, or whatever creative way makes the most sense for you. You can filter them by location or how many degrees they are away from your current connection. So just experiment with what's going to work best in your situation. But when you go to add them as a connection, you always want to send a personalized message, not just the stock message that LinkedIn fills in for you. Doesn't have to be super personalized to each person, but go with something that lets them know that you're not going to be pitching them. Because honestly, whenever I get requests these days, I assume they're going to be pitching me. So it would be refreshing if they told me point blank, we're not going to be doing that. So tell them you're not going to pitch to them, but rather you just want to give them really helpful content, no strings attached. Something like, hey, Michael, I just saw your profile and I had to request a connection. I see you're a small business owner or in the pool business, fill in the blank there. And I'm super passionate when it comes to helping people like you through my blog, YouTube, podcast, whatever you have. So if you add me, you can count on some gems from me coming through just when you might need them most. And I'd be happy to answer your questions too if you ever need my advice. And I promise to never pitch you either. I know how annoying that can be. Thanks, Mike. Looking forward to connecting or at least being a valuable resource. And obviously there's millions, if not billions of people in there, so just start chipping away at it little by little. I do think it's a good idea to set aside some time every week to add relevant connections. Or better yet, you could totally outsource this type of task to a virtual assistant who's going to do this in the background for you while you focus on other things. Either way, it's going to build up a good solid base of those valuable connections, essentially your would-be clients, right? So you'll add them, they'll see your content, share it with their connections, hopefully, helping it take off even more. And then over time, a percentage of these people will be won over by your expertise, and they're going to come to you as a direct result. And trust me, it's always better when you make it their idea attracting clients to you rather than, you chasing them down. Now, we've only scratched the surface when it comes to how you can repurpose your existing content on LinkedIn, and I have a ton more tricks to show you. So just click this video and I'll show you all my best repurposing hacks to get as much mileage out of it as you can, reaching bigger audiences and getting more clients in the process. So click right here and I'll show you some pretty game-changing ideas.